My dear friends, Mount Carmel is to this day a place of prayer. As it happens, when I was a student first time round, I was living with Carmelites in the first and last year out of the 3, and it was a place to be aware of the ancient family, because it's one of the oldest. And we had at the end of every day, at the end of Compline, we sang not only the Salve Regina, but also the Flos Carmeli, Flower of Carmel, an ancient chant in Latin to the Blessed Virgin of Mount Carmel. So we were aware of it. And also they had the house where the famous apparition took place in England. It's in Kent. St. Simon's Stock in 1251 received the habit, or rather the scapula, which had a promise with it from Our Blessed Lady. And to this day, as you know, it's something that we wear that keeps us safe from attacks to the evil one, and also there's a promise attached with regard to getting us out of heaven pretty quickly afterwards. And the number of testimonies I've had is quite puzzling with regard to the power of this scapula. Things happen. For instance, people come up to you and tell you about a terrible accident. The whole car was completely a write-off, no hope of anyone surviving. The person comes out quite happily out of the car, and also a scapula, and so on. But other ones, even more dramatic, I've heard here and there. But Our Lady does actually like us to wear the scapula. Now, do you know that in 1917, at the last apparition at Fatima, she appeared as Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And that is something significant. It means that she wants that proclaimed and followed to this day. So make sure, if you can, that you have the scapula of Mount Carmel. Get it blessed, wear it, or have it close to you, whatever. It does cause fear to the evil one. It doesn't like it one little bit. And you have Our Lady, as it were, wrapping you around. Now, there is something that people also don't know. It's the tradition within the Carmelite family, which is very ancient, and it goes right back to the Old Testament. The Carmelites, around about the 12th century, they were Christian hermits. They came together to live in that holy place, already sanctified by the prophet Elijah, way back, centuries before. And they were aware. And indeed, there is more to it, apparently, than meets the eye. Because, and I picked this up within the family, as it were, there is something which people outside the family don't know. It's that way back, there was transmitted this tradition that even before Christianity, in this old school of prophets, there was an awareness somehow given that there was going to be a woman. And they, for instance, saw in something that happened when Elijah was in contact with the king, Ahab at the time. Remember, there was a terrible drought. There hadn't been any rain for 3 years, and people were feeling the pinch. And eventually, Elijah knew that there was going to be rain. He was praying, and it was going to happen. He knew when. And he had a servant called Gehazi. And he was praying, Elijah, probably around this area, and then you could see the sea from the bottom, Haifa. So he would send his servant Gehazi, look over the sea, tell me what you can see. Nothing in particular. Go again. Nothing in particular. Go again. And third time round, what did he see? Out of the sea was coming a mist, as though it were a hand. And it was coming out, and Elijah then girded his loins and ran down, and on it goes, and this terrible dramatic shower came, and of course that was the end of the drought. But there's a double meaning, and it was picked up that this was, as it were, the foreshadowing of a power that would come and cover the Blessed Virgin, a woman, with its shade. And it would be, as it were, the dew from heaven. And that dew, by the way, we refer to quite often still at the altar in the second Eucharistic prayer, when we ask the Holy Spirit to come down and to sanctify with his dew, the dew of the Holy Spirit. So anyway, that is very ancient. And remember now, in the Holy Land, water was everything. If there's no water in those lands, we're in trouble. So water was life. So anyway, all that is to say that this richness was there, and they were given to understand there was going to be a presence, a woman. So this woman, the daughter of Zion, was somehow mystically in the air way back before she came along in geographical and chronological terms. Now, by the way, old Nick hates Our Lady. Do you know why? It's because before we came along on the track, that is when there were only angels in prehistory, that was the first wave of creation, God and his angels, but angels were created. God, of course, is the one that was never created. He was always there, but he, being goodness itself, has a need, as it were, to invent and have others share in this bliss. So the first wave was angels, and the most brilliant was the bearer of light, Lucifer. That's what the name means. He was the most brilliant of all angels, and that's why, because he was so beautiful, he was aware of his beauty, and he was tempted by pride. The first four of the angels. That was the beginning of the things going wrong. There was nothing wrong before then in the universe. But that's the point. At that point, he was no longer the most brilliant of all creatures. And therefore, when, as time went on, there would be a creature, apparently less than himself, because not angelic, but a creature who would be the most brilliant of all, who would come and therefore oust him in brilliance, Our Blessed Lady, he has a perfect hate for Our Blessed Lady. Now, do you see why? We're involved with this. Every time we take the rosary, which is blessed, every time we have these holy objects, which are blessed, we are using our ammunition against this lot. And they're all around. And they're more around than we think. And you, young people, because often with travelling people, there's a very large number of young people around. That's the great thing about you. Even here, lots of young people. When you're aware that your young people are under threat, e.g., through being before a screen, linked to all that's out there, protect them. Protect yourself, because that's how demons are coming in. And do you know that a few years ago in Korea, an artist, a young lady who had a brilliant gift of art, was given a mystical experience. It's on YouTube, you can read, you can see it for yourself. She was taken by the Lord into the beyond, and because he'd given her these great gifts as an artist, he showed her everything on the other side, hell, and so on, and he was wanting her to see it so that she could come back and use her gifts as an artist to show what she'd seen. And she saw category after category of people who were down there, and why. And do you know that amongst them were very modern things? E.g., she saw, and she painted it, you can see it on YouTube, what television does when people watch infested programs. Demons come out of the screen and somehow infest them. And they've got, as it were, a door through that screen into their soul. Because our screen, the retinas, the vision comes through our eyes, and with it all that goes in there and is in there in the imagination and sticks there. You can't not see again something you've seen once, and the demon knows it full well. I just finished with one thing. It's more subtle than you think. Do you know why? It's addictive. I remember when I was young, we didn't have television actually when I was very young, but it came in eventually, and it was in those days very calm. If you look at ancient television, black and white, you can see the same scene for several seconds. Now it's calm watching. You watch and analyse now television, the frame changes very quickly. People are expected to not have any concentration at all. So mentally, they're all the time being bombarded by a quick succession of images and messages and many, many words. So what's that going to do to your soul? You put a young person, therefore, in front of that, and he's not going to settle down to a book. It's not interesting. So they're damaged. And people now, if you watch them, young people especially, even when they're jogging in the street, they can't bear the sound of silence. What have they got? They've got something in their ears, thumping noises. In other words, they're addicted to noise and movement. They can't sit still. So just finish with this, because we had it in the first reading. Let all mankind, it's in the prophet Zechariah, let all mankind be silent before the Lord, for he is awaking and is coming from his holy dwelling. So now, as we come asking the Lord to make this house his dwelling, we calm down and remember that we're handling the silent one. And to get into mode, we need also to be on that same wavelength of receptivity and not too many words and bombardments.